and welcome to the second of the instructional videos about the Model United Nations Programme. Last time we looked at the philosophy, and hopefully you should be aware that the mission of this whole Model United Nations, the whole crux of it, is that we have a resolution that we need to edit, we need to change, and we need to make in our interest. But the only way that's going to happen is by making votes and succeeding in votes to get stuff changed. Where this is problematic is often you'll have lots of different countries with lots of different interests, and therefore there's always going to be a competition for time, but also to some extent for getting what you want often is at the detriment of someone else. And so it's about making sure that you can build coalitions outside of anyone else. This takes preparation, and often an area where students get confused is because they're not sure how to prepare all the different words, general research framework, resolutions and so on. They often waste their time in advance. So this video is designed to help you inform what you should be doing in the weeks before the session. So, if you remember from the last lesson, you will be debating either in one big group in the General Assembly, which is usually at the end of the day, and often using a resolution I do not show you until then, and in committee, a resolution. If you're on a team of 5, then there will be 5 different committees, and each one of you will be expected to go to one of the committees. If you're on a team of 3, there'll be 3 committees, and each one of you are expected to go to each of the committees. So, although you'll be working as a team all together as, say, South Korea, in reality, you will be spending a lot of time on your own debating a particular issue. Now, each committee has a different focus. Some might be health, some might be environment, some might be humanitarian, some might be military, some might be security. And that is dependent on each conference, and that is up to you to some extent to decide who does what. But what you will be doing is in each committee and in the General Assembly is looking at a resolution and making edits to it as is necessary compared to your country's interests. So, you have your resolution as a starting point. Now, this is designed to be offensive to pretty much every nation. And every nation has stuff they want to change. Now, you have stuff you want to change. Now, some of the stuff that you want to change will have agreement across the board. But most will have opponents. And therefore, it's your job to, through debate, through backroom deals, and through voting, to manage to get the changes that you want into the resolution without actually enabling your opponents to get changes that suit them but not you to change it. So this is a game of editing. This is a game of resolutions. This is a game of manipulating alliances, creating coalitions in order to remove elements that you don't like, add bits which make your life easier or serve your country's interests, or to edit words or edit phrases or edit whole sentences in order to change the meaning of resolutions to make it more suitably benefit or at least less harm your nation. So the Model United Nations in reality is a relatively focused mechanism to teach students soft skills of backroom dealing. This is not a debate competition, nor is this a knowledge of international finance and international politics, although both of those skills often help depending on the strategy. This is about horse trading. This is about politics. This is about coalition building. Now, the more informed you are about your country's position, the more planned you are about what to do, the more you thought about the resolution, what's the important thing, and more you understand who your opponents are, the better job you're going to make of making these edits. You will recognize more likely an attack by another country when they're trying to subtly change stuff, whereas someone who's not probably researched their country might not notice how bad a particular resolution is or a particular amendment is until it's too late. So, your job is to not only have your own plans, but understand your nation enough so you can react accordingly depending on what suits your nation at a given time. You just relying on your tummy sense of what your country believes or a broad stereotype is not going to simply be enough. You need to understand your country's position in order to be able to make deals, to recognize when you're not giving out the house for a simple amount of support, and understand what's acceptable and what's not. So, let's imagine we're the Republic of Korea, who I've been calling South Korea, but technically will be the Republic of Korea. You may be in a team of 1, in which case this is very easy, but most of the time you're in teams. So let's say for the sake of argument you're in a team of 3. This does not mean you'll always be working together. Orange, green and yellow will be working together at the end in the General Assembly, but for most of the day you'll be on your own. Orange might be in the Humanitarian Committee, green might be in the Health Committee, and yellow might be in the Security Committee. That is decided amongst themselves. However, the first thing you have to do is you have to fill out something called the General Research Framework, and that is always sent out with the nations, with the member states. Now, this General Research Framework is a series of questions, generic questions, just asking for background about your country. The idea behind this is to help focus your research to make sure you have a good, strong understanding of the basics of your country. And although it's not exhaustive, and certainly I would say not enough research, it is a good minimum, and this is why we mandatory make sure that you can present this to us before the session, otherwise you will not be allowed to take part. Now, the General Research Framework will be the same for all of you, because this is about background. So it's perfectly acceptable for, say, for orange to take 1/3, green to take another third, and yellow to take the last third, and then combine. However, if you wish, there's nothing to stop you as well, just all doing your own thing. That is something for your group to work out. However, you need to have a completed General Research Framework answering all the questions which are designed to give you a good background. Generally, with this background, you will be in a stronger position going forward. Now, I would strongly recommend doing more on this, but as a minimum, this is usually designed to be enough, particularly if you're a new player and not in a competition. If you are in a competition, I would say you should be doing much more research, because this will often differences in half percentage points of GDP, and you understanding that will make a big difference overall. So the General Research Framework is much more about you getting an understanding of the background of a country that you may have heard of but don't know its details. So don't worry too much on getting reams and reams and reams and reams of details. It's a good, just get 6 to 10 bullet points summarising each question, in detail, so that you have a firm understanding. The second framework you have, however, is a bit more complicated. As mentioned before, you will have the 3 resolutions, and those 3 resolutions will be different. Now, it's up to you to pick who does which one. So let's say orange does the A, green does B, and yellow does C. You can't all do B. Each resolution will have its own committee. So let's say orange will go to the first committee, green will go to the second committee, and yellow will go to the third committee. Now, you have to, once you've worked out who does what, often looking at who's got what interests, or what else is happening, or where the more difficult contenders are elsewhere, is up to you. You then need to do research on that resolution. Now, that resolution will have parts that you don't like, parts that you do like. It will have opportunities, so if you edit this, good things will happen. Now, have threats. Someone could quite easily edit this, and it will make bad things happen for you. But you can't just glance at this. You have to do a proper think and a proper research into this policy position, this resolution. So, what you need to do is each take a resolution and then do something called a policy position paper. Now, you have a framework with a series of questions on them. Now, each of you will be doing your own policy position paper, because your country's position on each resolution will be different. So, what Niger thinks about the humanitarian resolution will be different about what it thinks about the environmental, different what it thinks about international security resolution. So a big part of your job will be to make sure that each of you does one policy position paper on their particular resolution. There's no need for green to do yellow's resolution, and no need for yellows to do oranges. Green does green's resolution and does a policy position on that. And when you look at the policy position, you'll see a series of questions. And these questions will be designed to make you think, what do we like, what don't we like, what we do change. This means that when you come to committee, you don't necessarily have to waste time reading it and thinking about it. You know what you don't want to do. You know what you like. Many people like to, alongside this, mark up and label and annotate their own version. That's completely acceptable. But again, we demand you to do the policy position and show you've done this, so that everyone comes in at a certain starting point. Because we don't have much time in debate. And if you spend an hour trying to get used to it, you have wasted a lot of time. So the policy position paper is much more specific to the resolution that you will be looking at. That resolution, hopefully at the end of the policy position paper and completing it, you will know exactly what you want to do, and you will have the starting point of a plan. Like the General Research Framework, it does not have to be really specific. It can be general. But you'll be thinking of what does South Korea think about this particular thing? What do I want to change? What shall I add? What shall I think about? Who might be my allies? And this kind of thing. So look at the policy position paper as very much something to get you thinking about the resolution that you have picked. So How do we find information? In reality, there's a huge list on the MUN rulebook that was sent round with every resolution. However, the core area students find it easy is they usually do keyword searches on Google, use newspapers. The CIA and State Department also have a fantastic summary of particularly for the general research framework of each country. Wikipedia, obviously with all the caveats about Wikipedia, and the UN itself has many details about each country and each issue. So although I would strongly recommend looking at the MUN rule set and finding looking at a long list of different opportunities to find information that you need about your country, I would say those first 5 elements are often enough to get, particularly for the general research framework, the information you need. Now, some people said they find it hard to find information on the policy position. This is because it requires a little bit more thinking. You need to see what is work out, based on a general research framework, what is your country's costs and benefits from a particular topic, from a particular amendment, from a particular clause. And so although, yes, there isn't necessarily the exact copy and paste fact that you can find about South Korea's position on a carbon tax, you can work it out, often from information that you've got from the general research framework. So for this reason, I would suggest once you finish general research framework, you should focus on answering the policy position paper. And that'll be less about recalling facts. That'd be much more about thinking, and therefore there's less necessarily need for lots and lots of research. Certainly there's no need for copy and paste research. And instead what you could do, spend that time on, is just thinking, and perhaps if there's an area you don't know, I don't actually know what the South Korean or Republic of Korean position on a carbon tax is, so I better research that. And then if they say they didn't like it, if the UN records show they voted against it, you can try and work out why. So it's very easy to get lost with all these different sheets, all these different bits of paper. So long as you realise general research framework is designed to make you understand your nation. You can share it amongst your group because everyone's the same nation in your group. The policy position paper is for you personally to think about the one resolution you have been chosen for, you have chosen, hopefully you've chosen it, of the resolution you've chosen, to think about that and what you want to do about it. So in order that when you come to the committee, when you come to the conference, you understand what you need to do. Okay, so in the next video we'll be looking far more at procedure and how to get your changes wrought. But until that point, I will see you in the next video.